This is a podcast from Torfaen Voluntary Alliance. Hello, I'm Patrick Downs. Welcome to Word from the Third, where we'll be taking a look at all the big stories and news from the third sector here in Torfaen. Today then, it's Chris Hodson from the Alzeimers Society. Now, tell me more about the Alzeimers Society, Chris, here in Torfaen.
Hi, Patrick. Well, the Alzheimer's Society is a national organisation. We were set up as a charity back in the late 1960s with two people sitting in a pub saying there ought to be more information for carers for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And from there, it's just grown and grown and grown because the need is there to cover all of Britain, Northern Ireland, Scotland. We're everywhere across the UK. We have a very, very strong Welsh base. We cover all of Wales. We have a local team in Torfaen. We have local teams right across Gwent, and they have good knowledge of the patch. They work with local health professionals in the memory clinic and GPs and other support agencies to make sure that the person with dementia and their family and carers are right at the centre of the support.
What difference do you think you make in the community?
The fact that we have built up through working with service users and their carers and relatives, we've built up a huge amount of experience and information that we can share with people. We have hundreds of help sheets that people can download, or we'll send them to them to answer all from simple questions to quite complex issues about finance and going into a care home and advocacy. It's that sort of experience that we bring to the table and will give to people. There's the direct support where our support workers will work with the family to make sure that they're getting all the benefits that they need, to make sure that they can answer all their questions about dementia, how it's going to progress, to get tips and tricks about dealing with it, some of the problems that seem huge. So once they've been solved by someone else, we'll pass that information on. And this is just repeated across Wales. But I say our Torfaen team joins with the other local authorities in Gwent, so we've got a strong presence there as well.
What would you say would be the most rewarding or maybe enjoyable aspect of what you do?
Personally, for me, before lockdown and the pandemic, I used to love going to some of the groups that actually operated in the community. Down in Lanarhaven Church, I know I've been to a couple there. One of my favourites was music and memories, which is just having a good old sing for an hour and a half and seeing the difference that made to people with dementia, because the power of music and the love of singing, and their carers would come with them. And I mean, I'd walk out on there on a cloud as well as those, because it was such an uplifting experience. Obviously, because of lockdown, we've taken that online. It's not as good, can't be as good, because people are not in contact and close company with their friends and their relatives, so we're all isolated a bit, but at least it's going on. Hopefully, as coronavirus leaves us, as soon as we can, we'll be back to having the live group. So that I can't wait for that, because I get so much out of actually seeing people and seeing people enjoy the contact and the activities.
Now, tell me more about the project you have at the moment in Torfaen.
Again, this is a national project. It's called Dementia Connect, and why we're doing it is quite simply to reach more people. There are a lot of people out there who are waiting for confirmation, the final confirmation of the dementia. There's about 3,000 people in Wales, 700 people in Gwent. Torfaen is one of the best areas because their memory clinic is working very well there. After all the problems of lockdown and not being able to do as many appointments as possible because of the restrictions in space. So the situation in Torfaen is still serious. There's still people waiting to get that final confirmation. It's a long process, and quite rightly it is a long process because it's very, very thorough. Nobody wants to give out a diagnosis of dementia because it is such a sad diagnosis for people. So it's not done lightly. What we are doing now is trying to reach people when they're waiting for information and advice when they're worried. What we tended to do in the past was we'd wait until they'd had the diagnosis and we'd offer them support. But we found that people need support way before, and so we offer support for people there. People who've had a diagnosis, they encounter problems, the condition gets worse. things that weren't a problem at one point suddenly become a problem, and how we can offer support, advice and information through that. There's also a bunch of people, friends, relatives, carers, who are looking for information. Sort of they've noticed that sort of something isn't quite right, so they want to find some indication of symptoms. How do they go about getting these symptoms sort of discussed with health professionals? So there's a lot of advice and information there.
How can people then get in touch with you?
There's one number. I'm going to shout it out. It's 0333 150 3456. When they ring that, they'll get through to it's not a switchboard. They'll talk to a trained dementia advisor. This is someone who's done the job, has actually worked with people with dementia and their family and carers. So they can start to get advice right from the word go. They can talk to them. They also listen to what they say and say, well, what you might need is this. And if it's just information, they can arrange for them to have some help sheets sent to them. If it's advice, they can sort of point them in the way of we have chat groups on our website called Talking Point, where people just come together and talk about dementia and the issues that they might have in caring for someone who's got dementia. The other thing they can do is refer people for direct support for one of our local teams. Now, normally, once they do that, the person will have a response within a week. Very often it's quicker than that, but we aim for a week as a sort of the outside target. And that means that it'll be someone from the local area who will know the patch, will know the other support agencies working there, will know about TVA, for example, and will be able to sort of talk to the family and get as much support from throughout the community as they possibly can. So it's local, they know the area. I think that's very good for the people who are receiving the report, because it is someone who's an expert where they live. And that will go on, and because the support will change as the condition gets worse, then the support needs will change, and sort of what we offer will change in line with that. It's not one size fits all. I mentioned that people can ring that number. Also, community-based professionals can refer people by ringing that number. That could be a GP, a district nurse, another support worker from another agency. They think that there's something wrong and they want some information. They can ring that number and sort of liaise around the family to make sure that they're not waiting before something is actually done. The other thing that the helpline will do, Dementia Connect can refer people to one of our activity coordinators in their local area for the groups which were in church halls and community centres that are now all online. If they just want something simple as connecting with other people, having a bit of a sing, or go to a peer group or a memory cafe, they can do that as well.
So Chris, what was the number again?
0333 150 3456. It's open 7 days a week. You can also email us on dementia.connect@alzeimers.org.uk, because some people are not easy on speaking on the phone. They'd rather start off with an email, or you can go into our referral pages, and if you are a community-based professional, start looking at the process for referring people, which is very, very easy indeed.
Chris, thank you for this today.
That's good. Thanks for listening, and I hope that sort of people use that number and share it with people who are in a bit of a pickle about it, and sort of they can get some help straight away.
And don't forget, if you want to contact TVA, Torfaen Voluntary Alliance, for anything regarding the third sector here in Torfaen, get in touch regarding funding, volunteering, any kind of support or governance. info@tvawales.org.uk. You can also find us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter @TVA Wales, or of course on the website. It's all there at tvawales.org.uk. This podcast is produced by TVA, Torfaen Voluntary Alliance.